forward the slides, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
Welcome everyone to the workshop entitled Fail Really Does Mean First Attempt in Learning in Competency-Based Education. Welcome, I'm Christy Wood. I'll be the moderator for this session. And our presenters today are Musa Ayar, professor from UW-Platteville, Suresh Chalasani, professor from UW-Parkside, and Jill Halverson, associate professor at UW-Oshkosh. I will hand it over to our presenters.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Suresh Chalasani. I am a professor and associate dean at the University of Wisconsin-Parkside. And it's my distinct pleasure to be presenting this talk with my esteemed colleagues, Jill Halverson and Musa Ayar from UW-Oshkosh and UW-Platteville. This is a joint effort with many faculty, as well as instructional design staff, student support services, administration officials, and so on and so forth. For the past 5 years, we have been on this journey. And there are some other esteemed colleagues like Sahar Bamani, Dr. Bamani, who is my colleague at UW-Parkside, who may be in the session as well. I'm not seeing the presentation, Jill. Okay. Jill and Musa would introduce themselves when we get to their parts, but let's move on to the next slide in the interest of time. What we are talking about is competency-based education, and specifically the UW Flexible Option Competency-Based Business Degree, the journey that has been our focus for the past 5 years. Next slide, please. So the Flex BSBA stands for the UW Flexible Option Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. It is the first and the only competency-based business degree in the UW system, and it is the first and the only competency-based business degree that is to be accredited by the prestigious Association to Advance the Collegiate Schools of Business, or AACSB International. And that's the first and the only competency-based business degree in the world. And so only 7% of the business programs are accredited in the world by AACSB, and about 20% are accredited by them in the United States. Next slide, please. To understand the competency-based business degree, let's look at this slide, which shows the traditional programs on the left-hand side and the competency-based programs on the right-hand side. So in the traditional program, let's take an example. Jane Simmons, a 35-year-old single mom, she is enrolled in our traditional program. Let's say she's enrolled in our traditional online program, a semester-based program. And Jane has been working hard to complete this class for the past 3 months. But in the last month of the semester, her kids got sick, or maybe she needed to travel for work, and she could not complete her assignments or her exams and so on and so forth. We give her a grade of F, and we ask her to come back next semester and take the same class, pay another $1,000, and sit through the entire semester. That is the status in our traditional programs. And non-traditional students like Jane Simmons keep wondering, all I need is a few extra weeks to complete the competencies in this class. Why do I have to sit through another semester? Why do I have to pay another $1,000? That's where the competency-based degree steps in. In the time and learning continuum, if you think of time and learning continuum, the time is constant and learning varies in our traditional programs. In our traditional programs, some students might get a C, some students might get a D and still graduate. In competency-based education, like the Flex BSBA that we are talking about today, the time is variable. Students can take as long as they want to, or as short as they want to, but learning is constant. We hold them to a higher degree of standard. We hold them that then we require them to achieve mastery of these competencies. And Jill and Musa would be talking about those in just a little bit. Next slide, please, Jill. So what are competencies? Competencies, roughly defined competencies stand for knowledge, skills, and abilities. Knowledge is what do I need to know, whether it's theoretical knowledge or practical knowledge that I need to have to succeed. And the skills, what are the technical skills or the communication skills that I need to have. Abilities, whether it's innate abilities like leadership or the ones that I cultivate through the program. Those knowledge, skills, and abilities are KSAs as we refer to them. And competency-based education is transparent in the sense that we require that these KSAs to be applied to a real-world, authentic, practical scenario that students are likely to witness in their life or work situations. Next slide, please. So our degree program is very much geared towards non-traditional working adults. And students can start in any month and register for a 3-month subscription period. They can, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, they can progress as fast as they want to or as quickly as they want to complete this degree. The average age in our program is about 35. 90% of our recent admits, we did a quick survey and they're working. And we, after moving it to Parkside in 2019, we have improved the retention from about 46 to 70%. So a lot of great things going for this program through the collective effort of many, many teams and individuals. Next slide, please. So when you talk about being the first in a space, first in the UW system, first and the only business degree in the UW system, first to be accredited by AACSB in the world, the journey is going to be a little bit turbulent, as you can imagine. But I would not like to use the word turbulence anymore. I want to use the word creative chaos. So in the sense that I can give you the journey in a nutshell here. In 2016, very early in the 2016, faculty, instructional design team, student support services, and everybody got together and we started designing this degree in January of 2016. In a record 10 months, we completed the degree design and implementation. And we started enrolling the first students in December of 2016. And then we were trying to build enrollments. We were trying to promote this, but there was not much traction because at that time, the degree was offered by UW Extended Campus and UW Extended Campus was not HLC accredited. For us to go through HLC accreditation, we needed to enroll some students and then show progress. And that was what was happening. In October 2017, UW system restructuring was announced. And in February 2018, Ray Cross asked UW Parkside to absorb this degree to transfer this degree program to us. And we worked hard in 2018. All the teams were intact, but now the UW Parkside teams really, like the registration team, the student support services team, the admissions team, everybody helped quite a bit. And we submitted the HLC, the first HLC application and received the HLC approval in January of 2019. Then we started enrolling students at UW Parkside in March of 2019. But there was an issue because we could not offer federal financial aid. Because it's a competency-based business degree, everybody expects you to demonstrate a higher standard. And so our application to the Department of Education for federal financial aid was going nowhere. It was stalling. So in 2020, we submit a second HLC application to change from direct assessment competency-based degree to credit-based competency-based degree. And that gave us approval to grant financial aid. And our financial aid team did at both UW Extended Campus and UW Parkside did an exceptional job to start financial aid in September 2020. And in fall of, to add to the creative chaos, in fall of 2020, our 5-year visit by AACSB was due. They came and they evaluated this program. And fall of 2020, they went through thoroughly. Their main focus was this degree program because they did not want to pass this degree program that easily, because their names, the AACSB visit team's names, would be on this historic moment that they are accrediting the first ever competency-based degree by AACSB. So we went through a lot of scrutiny, but I'm really happy to report to you that just about 2 days ago, that we received confirmation from AACSB that our accreditation application and our continuous improvement report for the past 5 years has been approved, and we are great. So this is another stamp of approval in this higher standard that we needed to demonstrate for competency-based and UW flexible option degrees. Next slide, please.
All right, I'm going to be taking over from here. Hello, everyone. I'm Jill Halverson. I am with the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, but also with the University of Wisconsin-Parkside for purposes of this program. As indicated here, this degree program led by Suresh, and he's done a fabulous job, has truly been a faculty collaboration from throughout the entire University of Wisconsin system. We have had multiple faculty involved from both the UW colleges / extension system when that existed, as well as many of the four-year system colleges and institutions. And many of us are still here today. So that's been a real positive for our program as well, that many of us who have developed the program are still involved in the program 5 years later. And being from multiple universities adds to that diversity as well. When we designed the program, we followed a backwards design process. As you recall, Suresh talked about the knowledge, skills, and abilities moving towards that application and transfer. So we really began with the end in mind. What do we want students to be able to do? So there's some technical aspects, some critical thinking aspects, but really all of the different business disciplines really came together and looked at a relatively high level, what do we want students to be able to do and be able to demonstrate after completing this program. And so through that process, we came up with 8 program level competencies. So those higher level competencies that we wanted students to achieve. And within those 8, we have 116 different assessment level competencies that we have specific activities and assessments that students need to complete to be able to demonstrate those competencies. And within those, hundreds of outcomes. So the result is a very rigorous program that is made up of 39 courses, which we have in the past called projects because they are very highly project-based. Josh, Dr. Ayar earlier in the keynote address talked about making assessments as close to real life as possible. And as Musa will talk about, we've really done that in our programs. Most of these courses are between 1 and 3 credits. Our final course is a capstone that I believe is 4 credits, and it comprises about 65 total credits. So most of our students will have already completed their general education requirements, so they still have to have that 120 credits max, or 120 credits for a degree, and they will have completed some type of general education, possibly through a sister program. There is a flexible Associate of Arts and Science degree through UW-Milwaukee as well. So let me give you a little bit of an example here. This is just one course. It's a BAOS 300. It's a sales analysis and communication course. And within that course, we have 3 primary competencies. So 3 of those 116 competencies that meet several different outcomes that are in one course. And the course basically follows the outline of a project. So we have a project called the Cool Computer Store, where we are asking students to put themselves in the position of the intern. The intern is asked to basically slice and dice some data in spreadsheets. So they're learning more about spreadsheets using some curated learning resources, doing a lot with that data, then progressing from that data to the next step to make some sense of that data using statistics. And then in the final phase, they are presenting that data and writing some other reports and memos related to that data. So we've tried to make this as real life as possible, what an intern might be doing in that situation. And throughout the entire process, they are getting learning resources that they can use to help them learn those specific aspects with, of course, the assistance of faculty as needed. We are a resource for them, but it is a very much an independent process. They need to be very motivated and self-driven. So this is an example of how we meet multiple competencies rather than doing projects for the sake of doing projects. We're going to try to make that as real life as possible and integrate these competencies together in projects. So this is a project that Suresh, another one of our colleagues, Dr. Parag Damal, excuse me, and I work on these different competencies with our students. So each course requires students to demonstrate mastery. And mastery we have defined as 80% competency in any specific area. So we have very specific rubrics for each assessment and each competency, and they have to pass this at a very rigorous level. As Dr. Ayar mentioned earlier in the keynote, authentic scenarios are very important in learning, and we do that as much as possible in just about every course throughout this program. And again, we're now evaluating the students' knowledge, skills, and abilities and their ability to translate that to a real-world type scenario. Our grading is a little bit different than the traditional A, B, C, D, and F. Most of our grades are these top 3 grades here that a student needs to demonstrate mastery. And typically we equate that at about 80% based on points and rubrics. If they get to a 90% or above, they get a level of distinction. So that equates a little bit higher and gives them a little bit more motivation for something to work towards before, well, I've either mastered or I haven't. Oh, they've mastered, and they've mastered it at a really high degree with that mastery of distinction. And there's also a grade called PR, which is in progress, which means they aren't there yet. They've maybe had a start on the class, maybe haven't completed everything, maybe have to redo some elements of that class. You'll see a typical, we have to include options for incomplete or withdrawals, which are relatively infrequently used. And there is an F, but an F very rarely used, only in significant, I'm not even sure if we've used it in this program, but it is there in case of significant issues in terms of, for example, academic misconduct. So I'm going to turn things over to Musa in just a minute here, but our basic message that we want to share today is that failure is really not an option. Now, I know that Dr. Ayar spoke about failure as a necessary part of the learning process. Learning happens in a certain way. I make a mistake, I get feedback, I try again. And that does happen in this program. But we don't like to label something as failing. We like to look at it as a first attempt in learning. And as Musa will talk about, we give students 2 options for every assessment per subscription period to demonstrate mastery in a specific competency after giving them some practice exercises. So they're going to try it. They might fail it in the practice, and that's okay. they're going to then, when they're ready, go ahead and take an assessment, and they may or may not pass it on the first time or master it on the first time. Then they're going to try it again and hopefully master it. If not, they have an opportunity to try again in another subscription period. So let me give you an example of what that might look like. And many students, by the way, do pass or master on the first attempt or are able to complete a course or many courses within a subscription period. But I want to give you an example of what we call it a not there yet example would look like. And I apologize, this is pretty small on your screen. But what I've demonstrated here is the half a dozen or so subscription periods that it did take a student to complete a specific class. In this case, it was a financial accounting class. She first started the course back in December of 2019 and took quite a few of the assessments at that time, passed some, didn't pass others, or master, I should say. She took a semester off, or a subscription period off. And then it took several subscription periods for her to finally complete that particular course. So she had some redos, some she had attempted, some she hadn't. It did take a while, and I kept reinforcing with her, you're not failing, you're just not there yet. And finally, just a few weeks ago, I'm happy to report that she has now completed this course. And certainly she's completed others along the way as well. This is one that she just struggled with a little more, and as a result had a hard time being motivated to come back to it and get those harder assessments done. But she did say at the end, she said, thank you for all of your feedback. Thank you for your patience with me throughout this course. She finally did it. This is one of her challenges in her program. So I'm going to turn things over to Musa to talk quickly through our last few slides, and hopefully we'll take a little bit of Q&A yet as well.
Next slide, please. So far, you have seen how we started the program and how we kind of established the program competencies, the outcomes, and how we assess them as well. Now, I want to talk about failure in more practice, how failure is not an option. I will talk about three main things: our one-on-one interaction, our authentic assessment and constructive feedback, and our alternative assessments and multiple attempts for students. Next, please, Jill. Here is like kind of an infographic. At the center here, you see student, and on the left side, you see faculty and academic success coaches. Faculty actually interacts with the student one-on-one. I almost feel myself like you do a research project with the student in this course. And some of part of my courses is like a research project, and we do it one-on-one with the student. It's like almost like independent study type of feeling. It is, it requires a lot of work on the side of faculty, but I truly enjoy it. We also have academic success coaches. They also handle more or less coaching side, individual planning for the student. And keep in mind, these are adults, like 35 years old we are talking about, so they can take direction, they can learn as they have a lot of soft skills from their work experiences. And we have other people behind the scenes, like instructional design team and registration, IT, and whatnot. Next, please. Next slide, please. A faculty does create the program, create the assessments, assignments. Faculty will start having official office hours, and we also regularly revise the curriculum to make it even better. And I have been doing it right now for my courses. Actually, I'm revising them, and I look at the previous historical feedback, and accordingly I see the stumbling blocks. Wherever I see problems, I try to either write the rubric better or change the assessment, or as you will see in a bit, I'll talk about, I try to add alternative assessments so that students can take either this path or the other path to achieve the competency. Next, please, Jill. And we have academic success coaches, instructional design team, fabulous behind the scenes, and all sort of other people working behind the scenes, registration and admissions. But frontliners are academic success coaches and faculty talking to students one-on-one. Academic success coaches give longevity to students, because they can work with the same academic success coaches for months beyond my course. They might go to another faculty, but they can work with the student might go to another faculty, but they will work with the same academic success coaches, so they have that personal relationship. Next, please, Jill. Our assessments are authentic, real life, mostly, and then we provide constructive feedback. Next, please, Jill. Here is a authentic assessment. This is market analysis. I teach economics basically for this program, and students have to write a proposal. Survey questions have to be provided. Survey report, marketing analysis, and presentation in a video format. So it's similar to a research project we do with an undergraduate. Next, please. Here is a feedback I gave for one student for just the survey questions, and this is part of this feedback. There is more actually, and you basically teach them how to design a survey and you want them to have the competency. You're not letting them go otherwise. I will not. I mean, they have to learn how to design a survey. This is true for every faculty on this program. So competency-based education is not about assessing the achievement. It's more about taking the student and taking them to that next level so they can move on in the program. Next, please, Jill. We provide multiple attempts, 2 generally during subscription period, but it could be more if there is a good reason to do that. Also, we provide alternative assessments. Next, please, Jill. Here is an example of alternative assessments, like say supply and demand, typically very critical topic in economics. I provide 3 different paths to this competency. They can either take a quiz, or they can write a paper about it, or they can present it. Either one of these will do. If they do one well, master it, they are good to go. Now we can have some questions, Q&A session in the remaining time of 3 minutes or so. Any questions, you're more than welcome.
Yes, we have just a little over 3 minutes left. Beth is wondering if you could please post the grading system that you use.
And this is Jill. I was speaking on that. I'm not sure, Beth, if you could type in a little bit more detail of what you're looking for. The grading system that we use is at the final grade level is either a mastery, which is an M, a mastery with distinction, which is an MD, or they're not there yet, which is an in progress or a PR. So I'm not sure if you're looking for rubrics or if you're looking more for more detail on that. I will say I'll forward the slides here to our email addresses. You're more than welcome to email any of us, specifically if you want the grading information and you have more specific questions, please email me. I'm happy to have that discussion with you. We can correspond back and forth.
All right. We have a couple of comments. Hello from Jody Olmsted to Musa and Suresh. And then,
Hello, Jody.
And then Teresa says, very informative. Thank you. The examples were helpful, especially the assessments.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Teresa.
Any other questions? Feel free to add them to the chat.
If there is none, I will ask one to Suresh. No question?
Oh, go ahead.
I will ask Suresh, since we all have been part of this program from get-go for 5 years, can you tell us what was the most challenging part, and then what was the most rewarding part?
I think I'll start with the most rewarding part. The most rewarding part is, for me, is to work with so many different stakeholders. The way that I view is that the face of higher education has changed irreversibly in the last 10 years or so. And to make it used to be faculty-centric very much in the past, and now it is student-centric, right? And we have come to realize that it's completely, and what can we do to make sure that students succeed in our programs? And that involves faculty still play a great role, a significant role in that. But it also involves a lot of student support teams, like you mentioned, Musa, the success coaches, the registration, the admissions. In addition to the faculty, it's a team-centered effort. For me, the most rewarding part is just to work with all the key stakeholders at both UW Extended Campus and UW Parkside to make this program. The most challenging part has been just to go through the ups and downs, since
5 seconds left.
Yeah, with AACSB, with the Department of Education, with HLC, and all
Thank
those.
you all so much. We're out of time. Thank you so much.